Ready, ma'am? Gavel to gavel, right?
Gavel.
Call to order the special school board meeting of December 19th, 2023. Present are myself, the chairman, Mr. Voisin, the assistant chair, and Ms. Lagarde, member. Other members present are Mr. Harding, Mr. Crowdis, Mr. Ford, Ms. Benoit, and Mr. Hamner, Mr. Bubba Ogeron, superintendent, and members of his staff. Would you do the invocation for me, Ms. Lagarde? And the pledge.
Lord, support each of us in this meeting. We ask your divine help in the difficult task of representing the wishes of others. The issues we address tonight are many, and the solutions may not always be easy. Dear God, help us as we serve the school system as elected officials, and be with us tonight and forevermore. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Brunet.
Yes. Mr. Michael Lagarde.
Here.
Mr. Gregory Harding. Mr. Matthew Ford.
Here.
Mrs. Debbie Benoit.
Here.
Mr. Don Crowdis. Mr. Clyde Hamner.
Here.
Mr. Roger Dale Dehart. Dr. Maybelle Trahan.
Here.
And Mr. Dane Voisin.
Here.
Madam President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Barry. Ms. Brunet, I'm giving you a new name. We are on item number 5, matter bearing upon construction project management services contract. If I slow down, I'll about be able to read that. Recommendation on our agenda reads that the board will extend the construction project management service contracts with Volcott Incorporated and Hamner and Gaynor LLC for 1 additional year from January 5th, 2024 through January 5th, 2025 at the same prices, terms, and conditions of current contracts. Do we have a motion? So moved by Mr. Harding. Do we have a second? Sir? Second by Mr. Lagarde. Any public comment? Mr. Harding? Mr. Lagarde? Any other board members?
I guess I'll start.
Was that
So I guess
Ms.
I'll
Ford?
start. So this is a situation that we knew would end up coming up at some point in time. We agreed to 2-year contracts. Those 2-year contracts are coming to an end. So now it's time we need to either make a decision to renew or to discontinue. And I haven't had much feedback from other board members, but I have had a lot of feedback from other people in the district. Although this does affect our district overall, and due to the expectations and the nature of our business, this affects our staff and the superintendent and his staff a lot more than it does the residents, a lot more than it does the employees and even the children in this district. So I was really hoping to hear some feedback from the staff, because this is a situation where if we discontinue these contracts, someone has to fill in those shoes. If we renew both contracts, then it's a situation where we have some people that are unhappy, and although we can't make everyone happy, I need to know where we stand, and I want to hear from, those people. I know the superintendent has an opinion on this, and I think as a board, our responsibility should be to support the superintendent and his staff on this issue. And I think that's where we stand. Now, as far as me personally, I've heard from one extreme where we renew both contracts, and I've heard some people say cancel both. I don't mind negotiating. I don't mind compromising. but it needs to end tonight so we can move on. So I want to hear what the other board members have to say. And in particular, I want to hear from the superintendent before I make a decision, because when I vote tonight, unlike when I normally vote as to represent my constituency, yes, they may be affected by this, but more so, the superintendent, his staff, and the people in this building will. So I want to make sure we make the right decision for them. And we need to be representing and looking out for them. Thank you.
Ms. Benoit.
Yeah, I totally agree with Mr. Ford. We received a letter, everybody at the, had it at their table today from our attorneys concerning recommending no renewals. And so that's concerning, but I also feel like Mr. Ford, we need to support the staff because they're going to be picking up the slack if it's not renewed. And we just need more input. It's a hard decision to make. I'm not ready to make that kind of decision right now without more information. Thank you.
So, if I may ask, or if we're not ready to make a decision, are you substituting a motion to table?
I would table to January to give us more time to discuss this with the staff. I mean, we have until, what, January 31st, is that?
January 5th.
January 5th, and we have a special meeting on the 3rd? Or that's just
only
executive?
the executive meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Any other board members? Are you done, Ms.
Yes, thank you.
You know, I don't agree
Ms.
with,
LaGuard?
yes, I don't agree with those two. I think we owe it to the constituents and our people and our students come before the superintendent and the staff. We owe it to our students and our parents and our constituents to make this a fair process, not just because we like someone or we don't like someone. We owe it to them to make the decisions first, that what's gonna benefit our students and not gonna benefit a network of friends or create a network of friends. That's who we owe it to. I don't owe allegiance to one man or one staff. I owe it to the students and the people of Terrebonne Parish first. And, you know, I've been hearing some rumblings about different things, you know, and I just surprised that I'm gonna get a letter minutes before a meeting. You know, it just kind of make me suspect. You know, we should have had that before, you know, and we get a letter minutes before, and there been some rumblings, you know. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and play no games. It been this and that said, this one wanna do it, that one. That's a lot of money. We in the meat of this thing. You know, we just gonna throw away contractors when we just getting down to the serious projects of 2 high schools that we have to rebuild. That's a big overcoming. That's a big task. And we're gonna start off new with building those schools? Not one meeting have I heard we had any major problems with contractors. Not one meeting. And to be honest with you, we're using the same architects, we're using the same contractors. Not I heard of one major problem enough where we wanna not do this contract, and this should have been discussed before tonight. So if you, let's hear from this and that, but I don't think the staff gonna make me do this, make the opinion, because I remember before this happened, the staff was overworked. We had meetings, we talked about how the staff was staying here till 8 o'clock. We increased everybody's pay. Now the staff would take this over. That's too much. When that was recommended, that's too much for the staff. We just gonna get rid of the contractors and give this to the staff. No, that's not fair. That's not fair. We wanna start this process over. Remember how hard this process was? And we just gonna end it and throw it in the staff lap to do it? No, That's not right, because the superintendent got a job to do, and his staff have a job to do. And if they could do this with that, they're not running the day-to-day action of the school. It's too much. That's why we got consultants. That's why we went out there and did all that. And we bought in and we thought we got the best of the best when we interviewed and we did this process. And we still in the thick of things, because we still got 2 major high schools to build from the storm and building another high school. So don't bring me this. I'm just gonna be honest with you. If it don't smell right, then it don't smell right to me. I don't know what it is, but I know, maybe I could be wrong.
Are you done, sir?
I'm done.
Anyone else? Mr. Hardy?
To reiterate again, I think going back and looking at what we're at now and what we started at, and I was actually served as president of the school board during that process, and I think it was a very, very hard process that we went through. Mr. Crowder wasn't, part of that process, but everybody else here was part of that process. I think I don't have a problem with hearing what staff have to say. I think it's a fair thing to do. I mean, hear what Mr. Orgeron have to say about, his feelings and his views. And some people, feel that may change their mind or help them make their decision, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But me as myself, I don't think, although we have this letter here, so I think maybe that might need to, that's the elephant in the room. I think that needs to be explained and understand how did that come about, before we could, make a decision on that and see exactly what happened with that situation. But so far as me as the quality of work, I just can't, I don't have anything against the quality of work of either one of those companies. To try to reiterate what Mr. Lagarde stated, that, we don't know the inner workings of every day what's going on with these projects, and just to throw this on or put this on our staff when basically they place a full now themselves. I just don't know if it would be the right thing to do. It's almost like being in the middle of the stream, and all of a sudden now you're going to turn back around and say, look, we're going to go a different direction. And like I said, and like Mr. Ford stated, first 2 years, now is another time for us to, make up our mind exactly what direction that we're going to need to do. But I would like to hear from the superintendent and maybe explain some things about the letter or what he feels, or maybe what his staff feel, or what direction that we should do, and then go from there.
Any other board members? Any, I didn't ask call for public. Any people in the public have any comment? Mr. Orgeron, you have some comments?
Sure. So I'll take both firms independently, okay? HGI. So we have Curtis here with us. We have Scott here with us, Mr. Lou, and Steve? Another Scott, okay? Just met yesterday over the phone and this evening. And Gary. And they've done a great job in the school. Their presentation skills are somewhat lacking at times, and I think the board would attest to that. I think what they do in the schools is not reflective of the presentations. When I go in schools, I see Curtis, Scott, and Gary all the time walking around the halls at all schools. Are they project managing? They're project managing. We had some accounting concerns with some invoices, minimal with HGI, very minimal. We had discussions with Mr. Oni, and we have a resolution. We have a way to resolve and continue the work. One of the things, and Marco mentioned it for his group, is a reduction in force. They're sending us 3 guys. They need to reduce because we're coming to the end of a lot of the projects. Projects are going to be terminating in July, outside of the big ones. outside of the big ones, okay? So we feel their support is beneficial, and we feel that we can move forward. That's where I'm at with that company. You have this letter. This is our attorney's letter. That's his opinion. That's my opinion. Volkert. Good dudes. Paul's a great guy. Marco's a great guy. Ryan did a great job. He's a great guy. Like them all. Not about who I like more as far as I'm concerned. We like them. We like them. They're good people. They've given us really good reports. Other than the little mix-up tonight, Ellender, Upper-Caillou, I think that was a little off. But, I mean, we understood. We can understand that. That happens. Our accounting shows some significant concerns with their invoice. Significant. And we had discussions on how this could be remedied. And I don't feel confident that the solutions are there. I don't feel confident. Unless I can hear something else, I didn't hear it today in our discussions. Why so late? Why are we just fine? Because there were some things that just opened up recently, projects that just got bidded out that could have swayed some of these invoices. Well, they didn't. They went the other way. It wasn't as high as we thought. They were actually much lower. And job in particular was Evergreen. We got that one in late last week. We waited as long as we could to make a decision on this. We didn't want to make a premature decision. We wanted to give every opportunity to come clean and say, how can we fix this? We stayed today until 4 o'clock trying to figure this out. There was no last minute anything. We've been looking at this for a while. Trying to wait, give every opportunity. I'm not confident we have a solution. I'm not. They offered one solution, which is a sliding scale, which is allowable by FEMA, which means we increase the percentage over 4%. I didn't feel comfortable with that. I'm not speaking for you. I'm saying I didn't feel comfortable with that. I didn't think you would, but I was speaking for me. Up to 7% on smaller jobs, that would help. Didn't see that happening. We had a contract that was agreed upon, signed by both parties. That's what we adhered to. My recommendation, and public can speak after me if that's okay with the board, we renew HGI and amend the recommendation to include that. That's not what our attorney recommends, that's what superintendent recommends. Yes, sir.
Mr. Ford.
So there's a lot of things to consider here. 9 years ago, I lost the job as a facilities manager in a safety company. I was the most experienced person on the staff, but they did what they called a lean reorganizational structuring. They had to lean it out, right? Those positions are overhead. Our contractor, our project managers, program managers, those are overhead. Just like safety personnel, just like people in executive positions, a lot of times when businesses have to lean out their org charts to save money, to save overhead, that's where they cut from. My only concern is if we don't renew one or both of them, that our staff does become overwhelmed because maybe they're a bit overambitious, right? But I must say I did expect different results. I thought looking at these organizations when they came here 2 years ago and were vying for this position, these opportunities, they were great salesmen. They really were. And it's just like extended warranties. You don't know if you're ever going to need it until you need it. But then what happens whenever your regular warranty runs out and it's time to use the extended warranty and oops, they don't cover that, right? It's in the fine print. Well, I don't want us to be in that position, but that's kind of where we are right now. Our warranty's running out. Do we get the extended warranty? Do we keep them on staff? I don't like the idea of not renewing both, but I don't like the idea of renewing both either. So I like a compromise. I did talk to one board member who was probing about it, and like I mentioned to this person, there's one extreme where we keep them both, and there's another extreme where we cancel them both or don't renew. I like the idea that our council has enough confidence in us that if we don't renew either of one of these, we'll have it covered. We'll take care of it, our staff. But I've heard a lot of things from staff too, and they were not as content with the performance of you guys as we were. And they work with you day to day. And if we're going to renew, there's going to have to be some changes. There's going to have to be something for us to incentivize us to do that. So if we're going to have to look at that, then I think maybe we should push it back and table it. But if it goes to a vote right now, if it goes the way I think it will, then we're going to cut ties with both, and we're going to, the ball's going to be in our court. We're going to have to take care of it. And I just hope that I hope that we got it covered. So, right now, I'm concerned that that overhead that it is costing us, although it's a nominal amount, and I've brought this up before, their maximum allowable percentage is 4% of the actual contract, and 90% of what we pay is reimbursable, so we're basically paying 10% of that 4%, which is 0.4%. But we do have the issue with the variance with the invoicing, so I think that needs to be answered too as well. So if we can get an answer to that, I think we'll be ready, to make a sound decision.
Any other board members? Mr. Crowders?
So I was not part of this process, and I'm sort of trying to gel all these pieces together here. So there's several good points here. Number one, my colleague Mr. Lagarde talks about 2 major schools getting ready to be built. Very important process, very big process, very, very big process. If you get rid of your project managers, does it become overwhelming for the staff? Very good question. Number 3, if you get rid of your project managers and then it becomes overwhelming for your staff to handle, do you then delay the progress of the buildings even further because now you've made a decision that becomes overwhelming for you? Question. It's just a question. It's a rhetorical question. The fourth thing that I had written down is, number one, I do agree with Ms. Benoit. Maybe we need more information before we make a decision tonight. Number 2, if we have these major questions before us, before the board, before the superintendent, is it not reasonable to consider maybe a 6-month contract rather than a year contract? That gives the contractors a chance, 6 more months to make progress on the jobs that they're doing. It gives us 6 more months to evaluate the progress that they're doing without going a full year. Sure, we got to reevaluate them in 6 months, but isn't that why we're here? Part of the reason why we're here? Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Ms. Lagarde?
I still don't know, maybe it's me, what happened? I'm still confused on what happened. Was it a mistake? Could the company that you say had the major amount, I still don't see the amount in writing. Can they explain to me if it was a mistake or who the mistake was on. I still don't know what happened, to be honest. I don't know.
You need more information.
Somebody telling me something,
You need some more information.
but I don't have the information.
That's what I'm saying, you need more information.
Exactly. I don't know what's going on. I'm being told something, make a decision tonight on 2 companies, and we're gonna go with one, and we're not, I don't know what happened. We need more information. It's not enough information to say, hey, they made a mistake, or this happened, or it wasn't a mistake, or something major, something simple, was they cheating us, was they not cheating us? I need more information to make an honest decision on, we gonna do this, because for my concern, I thought we've been having a great relationship with both companies for the past 2 years, and we get down to the end, we gonna dismiss somebody for something. Now I could see if it was building up to this, but I still don't know what happened. Because just a month ago, if I may be honest, the board was talking, oh, we're gonna get rid of HGI, I had board members, and we're gonna keep this one. And now we come in the meeting, we're gonna get rid of Vodka, and the Boca was Boca the number 1. I don't know what's going on. You know, it was like, oh, we're gonna get rid of him because he didn't make a good presentation. It was like, it's not the presentation skills, it's the work. One company might have a better speaker than the other, and we shouldn't base it off of that. I actually don't know what's going on, to be honest, so please tell me. And I think some other people lost before we have to make a vote like that with this major money, you know, and I don't want to make a vote, then next month they can't do it, and we're going to end up giving it to somebody else, and somebody going to say, see, that's what they was doing, getting rid of them to give to someone. That's why we need more information to make a decision. Before I fire somebody, I needed some information. I'm just not going to go out there and vote to fire somebody just like that, and I don't know the whole story, and I don't know the whole story. Maybe you all do, but I really don't.
Extended 30 days to make a decision.
I don't know.
Mr. Hardy?
And I'm going to be brief. I mean, I guess I don't have a problem with maybe delaying it
But you can extend
And-
the board, it's fine.
and getting the information, but I'm just trying to figure out, Mr. Orgeron, is there any more information that you need to get to us?
Yes, of course.
I just asked the, I mean,
So, all right, so.
I'm okay with delaying to get more information. I'm just trying to figure out what else can we get.
So
I'm just,
if we delay, so here's an issue. Our numbers are not the same as their numbers, okay? But so, I'm confident in our numbers. So there's a discrepancy. The specific number, I don't have a to the penny number. It's significant. Significant is a big word. Over.
no,
I don't
you're
know
talking
how- I
about, you talking about both companies or one company?
One.
Okay, I'm just
The one
trying
that
to,
the one that I mentioned.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure we understand what who
So
you're
do-
talking about.
Do I have a spreadsheet? I don't. If you need all that, I think what Ms. Benoit asked is
Oh, okay.
where we go. I won't be able to produce that tonight. We've had the conversations. We've had them.
It's we.
Staff and the companies.
I'm just hearing about it.
That's because that's why we're here tonight.
So
I'm
let's
telling you
hear
what, that's it, I told you.
What's
They're over, they offered us a counter, we disagreed to the counter. I'm not doing a sliding scale, it's not happening.
Well, how they, Mrs.
Unless y'all approve that, I'm not
How they
approving.
over, is it, I don't, how they over, tell me, explain it to me like I'm a
You-
5-year-old.
Would you mind, Ms. Bro,
How they
explaining some of this?
over?
Okay,
What
we
happened?
can explain
How
that,
they became-
we can explain that.
Explain
We're
it
gonna
to
have
me.
Ms. Brooks,
We'll
Ms.
explain.
Brooks explain.
Okay, please do. What happened? Then I would like to hear from them as well. What happened?
So, Mr. Lagarde, what has happened is that under the terms of the contract, the project managers can bill up to 4% of each project worksheet. And a project worksheet is what you file with FEMA to get your money back.
Okay.
Okay? The project worksheets are made up of groups of schools. Our project worksheets are divided by project manager, and then they're further divided under each project manager by architect. So all of Mr. Leeretz are together, all of the Duplantis design groups are together under each project manager. when applying the 4% to each of those project worksheets, the companies have overbilled us a little bit for one, and a more significant amount for the other. Mr. Ogeron mentioned that we just opened some bids last week. So for a few bids, for a few projects, we were working with estimates still. So we're taking an estimated amount, applying the 4% to know what the maximum is. Well, now that we have these actual bids and these actual amounts, we know what the 4% maximum can be. And in several cases, one of the firms has billed us more than that maximum.
Okay.
Okay?
Considerably?
One of them,
One
yes,
time,
sir.
2 times, 3 times?
One of them is just a few $1,000s.
No, I'm not talking about dollar amounts. I'm
Okay.
talking about how many times have they done that?
Well, I don't know how many times. I can give you dollar amounts. I can tell
I don't
you,
need
you know,
dollar
how.
amounts. I want to know because I could make a big amount one time, or I can make a big amount on 5 times. You know what I'm saying? So I'd rather know how many times than just a dollar. I can make a major mistake one time, or I can make 5 mistakes to equal that major mistake.
I understand what you're
So
asking.
once it go that many times, I know what I'm doing as opposed to a mistake.
Right,
That's
okay.
what I'm saying.
Gotcha. I understand what you're saying now. And yes, it was not one invoice that put them over the 4%. It's been a series of invoices over the past several months that have kind of been exceeding and just getting further away from the 4% that we should have been at.
Okay, now, once you saw 3 invoices like that, did y'all pick up the phone and say, hey, guys, can y'all, we're not accusing you of nothing, can you explain this, what's going on, it's over the 4%?
As soon as we recognized the issue, yes, sir, we picked up the phone, we called and requested a meeting. It took us about 2 weeks to get everybody in the room to be able to discuss it, and then, yes, we talked about it at that time. But yes, as soon as we discovered the problem, we did pick up the phone and ask for a meeting so we could talk about it.
Okay, and so nobody accused you, say, look, guys, this is what we finding is over the 4%, it comes up to this amount. Now, did I guess we'll talk to them, the company, because y'all, did they say, okay, it was a mistake, or did they try to explain it? Or it's just blatant, look, we was trying to beat y'all.
Oh, no, nobody's accusing anybody of anything.
I want to know what's going on, to be specific.
Right,
I
no
wanna know
one,
if it was a mistake, or was it blatant cheating me? So when we had that meeting, did we say, look, y'all done charged us 6%. I don't know what the percentage, but just on the last 4 contracts invoice, y'all done charged us 6%. And did they come back and say, well, hold on, it's a contract, it's an error, or we know what we was doing, or forget y'all, we don't want to talk about it? That's what I'm saying. I want to know, you know.
well, initially, I think there was, I don't know if they recognized it until we said it. So I think that, I'm not sure that they realized what was going on either, and because I'm not sure that they were monitoring what they were billing. They should have been. They should have been monitoring.
What should have been?
I agree with you. They should have been monitoring. They were charged with managing their own budgets and should have been monitoring that and didn't. It was us that caught it. So, and that's why we had the meetings. But there was no, we didn't accuse them of anything. We're still not accusing them of anything. Volker did come back to us with a possible solution, but I don't know if it's one you would want to accept or not. I mean, the superintendent and I have talked about it. We've looked at it. It doesn't fully solve the problem.
Well, let us talk to them because, to me, I'm not saying it just seemed just surprising to me it come out at the end of their contract. That's like a big whammy on the day of them signing a contract. I would like to hear from them
Yes, sir.
before I take a vote.
And I'll tell
They
you,
would explain, maybe they can't, maybe they can, maybe it's unreasonable, but I still, I would like to, I hear our side, I would like to hear their side.
That, we're gonna be getting to that.
You know, I wanna make sure, cause I don't wanna accuse someone on a big contract night, you know. I don't wanna do that. I wanna hear, was it a error? Cause I know I could make a mistake, and it could be a big check one time, or it could be a major many times, and it was a mistake. And then, let's see how we gonna correct it. If it's like, well, we not gonna correct it, you know. Now, they may have a solution to correct it that we like, that maybe y'all don't like, because we don't always be on the same board. That right?
Yes, sir.
So I
That's
would
fine.
like to hear if they had a solution, because we have to vote on this solution, not y'all.
Well, I,
Because we work for the people, just like y'all, and we make the decisions for the people. Y'all make the decisions for the school board employees, but we make the decisions to make, y'all help y'all make the decisions. So I would like to hear from them as well. Because they might have this, and we might say, okay, I like what they're saying, y'all might not, but I still want to hear from them. Then I might not like it, but I want to give them the opportunity to at least hear from them, to explain it their way.
Thank you, Ms. Booker.
Thank you.
Any other board members? Can we hear from the companies first?
Can I
Yes, Ms.
say
Van
something? Should this not be an executive session if we're getting information from these companies?
If we were dealing with employees, I believe.
If you deal with employees, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't go in executive session right now because it wasn't advertised as such.
Okay.
It's public record. It's subject to public record. I do have a statement.
You have another statement?
I don't think we have a qualification to get into executive session.
Okay, we'll get them to go before we do this. Ms. Ford.
I did have a statement before. I do have a substitute motion I'll bring up in a little bit, but I think it's the right thing to do. You know, I've always been the type person that if someone has done something that I perceive that's them have doing me wrong, I confront them, right? Tactfully, respectfully. So there's always two sides to the story. So right now, we have new information that we just learned about in the last day or two, and we perceive it as someone doing us wrong. So I would like them the opportunity to explain so that we can make an educated decision. And I do have, you know, like I said, a substitute motion after that, but I want to hear from them first.
You know, we've talked about the companies quite a bit and made a few charges, and I think they need the opportunity to address the board. Is anyone from VOCA wish to speak? And Mr. Markle.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. So y'all have gone over a whole lot of different things here today, and I will say this. When you look at the cost and stuff of what and what we've been looking over with Bubba and Becky, I'm sorry for the informality of just saying their first names, but according to the 4%, there are overages on that. I'm not disputing that the numbers are what the numbers are. So it's how it got to be to that point, okay? I can assure you it was never, I'm going to go out there and screw them type situation, okay? This was we have been every single month, so the building process, because this came up for question several months back at a building committee, so I'm going to cover this again. Every single month, when we submit a bill, it is broken down through the 20-some-odd schools that we are working on. So it's not a lump number. Y'all pay us in a lump number. You don't pay us 20 different checks, okay? There is a recap sheet with that lump, but each one of them has Acadian, Berg, Broadmoor, whatever it's got on it, and each one's broken down and how many hours are per PM at the rate and amount, how many hours for admin, because that's the only things really ever charged. And it's broken down per school, and each one has broken down to how many hours each week with an explanation of what was done that week. It took a while to kind of get gelled in with what your accounting wanted and your FEMA consultant wanted as far as explanations and stuff, but you know, through it, we got into it pretty well. We started off going through, and then we brought in an additional project manager in August of that first year in anticipation that the estimates would be completed a lot sooner than they actually were completed. So the estimate process started when y'all hired the architects in February of '22. The initial date was, let's get everybody, all the estimates in by March 17th. Y'all, everybody on this board has been through enough building committees to know that did not happen. It just wasn't going to happen with the number of schools we had and number of architects and what have you. So it was a long back and forth process. By November of 2022, I presented to y'all the first bar chart schedule that y'all saw with a multicolor showing you when design was going to be starting, anticipated when construction. The reason it went to that length is because that's about the time that we thought the estimates were about to be getting complete. Okay, so we're talking a period of time from we got hired in January all the way through November. If you look at our overall bar chart for the project, and you looked at the dates when all the estimates were finally done. Basically, when I say done is FEMA has approved, All South has approved them to be able to take into FEMA. We have a considerable amount, I would say 75% if not more of them that were completed in 2023. So until they were done, we really couldn't get into full finished design and construction. So a considerable amount of time was spent there in cost in that. Now, I have put together what a cost is for that, but it's not exactly, you got to think about while you're working on estimates, we were working on designs in extent. So what I had my guys do is go and put, this is the date that we got the final approval on estimates. This is the date we finalized the design, when we bid it, notice to proceed, construction, what have you. You'll see some of the dates for design. Obviously, you won't because I don't have it presented to you right now. But design was fairly close to the time the estimates were because we were working on design. When we got to a certain point where we knew that the estimate wasn't going to change too much more, we're just kind of working through a few things, we got design. But that's why we had so many projects starting in 2023. Through this process in the spring, we did bring this issue up to Becky. We went into a meeting. It was brought up in one of our weekly meetings that, hey, if you look at where we're at, we're going to start getting into the red on a lot of these projects. Okay, that was in the spring. So I want that on the record that it wasn't that we waited till September when they made it, or October when we were called in about it. We brought it up ourselves. And it was discussed at the time, and that because what was happening was we had to kind of find where to charge it. So do we want to charge, where do we charge the time to accurately reflect, but also be able to live within the budget confines? And the instructions going out of that meeting were charge it to the job that you're working on, and we will work that out later on. That is the instructions that my administrative people knew all the way up to about 1 month ago. My project managers knew, and I was at the meeting. I'm the one who answered the question. Now, I understand that in talking to Becky since then, that wasn't necessary. Her intention still necessarily wasn't to go over or anything, but there was a misunderstanding between the two parties on that. And I take a good fair share of the blame for that. And I told her that. I said, we should have probably had a lot more communication about that. But I took what was said at that point, and we just charged to the jobs that we were working on. Now, some of the projects have fees of $12,000, $15,000, $17,000. That's the total fee for the project. It doesn't take a lot of time to eat that fee. So that's why some of them were starting to get into danger zone way back then. But we still had projects that we just got into. Hell, we just bid out Elysian Fields and Evergreen. We hadn't, we've been working through estimates or legal or anything else throughout the entire time just to get to that point. So we have some projects that are going to go in design and construction that if you look at the overall schedule, really weren't into the heat of it until spring, summer, fall, into now. So we had a considerable amount of time that we had in there working on those estimates. So a lot of the money was burned through that time. It wasn't something that we weren't monitoring. We have a spreadsheet that monitors it every week, but we were going under the understanding of what was discussed at the time back in the spring. Again, I'm also saying too that I fully understand Becky's viewpoint on it, and there was a misunderstanding between the two, but that's kind of the direction we were going under. So that's where you get to where we are today. what we came and proposed were a couple different things. So in October, might have been November, it was brought up to us that we needed to go have a meeting to sit down. Well, it was said, have a meeting with Becky and Bubba, okay? I was told it was about invoices, so that's subsequently kind of what it was about. So we just couldn't schedule a time to get together. So it was a few weeks later, and we got together and we met. So we had an in-person meeting. After that, we said, well, let's go back and look at it, come up, help us come up with some solutions that'll help. It was expressed to us, the main thing was to make sure that we have something, a plan that you will be able to get reimbursed by FEMA. I mean, that's ultimately what you want to get, is you want to get your money back. So we came back a week later after that meeting. The meeting was on Tuesday. The following Tuesday, we requested a meeting. We did it the following Tuesday after that, just due to schedules and what have you. And we sat down, I believe that was actually Tuesday of last week. And we brought in an independent FEMA consultant on our nickel to come in just to offer, because we went with him to try to figure out some way, what can be done. And we invited the gentleman to come with us, and he offered some suggestions. There was, good back and forth conversation. I understand that, to an organization like All Southeast or FEMA consultant, that could be, a little off-putting, but we try to make it as little as it could be. And I hope that it wasn't taken that way. It was just really to try to bring in another set of eyes. And he brought up a couple of suggestions, one of which was according to FEMA, there are allowable rates that you can have depending on the size of the job. So that was one option that the superintendent said they did not want to do. Another one was to try to find that amount of time that was taken during the estimate phase, if there is a way to sit there and categorize that as something to be able to get refunded for that, or to be able to allow for a slide on that, because it is a much longer period of time than is normally reasonably acceptable, reasonably expected. So we are still reviewing that. We're reviewing the contract. We're reviewing that. Our third-party guy, his name is Kip, by the way, so I don't keep calling him third-party guy. His name is Kip. Kip has also been in touch with GoSep to look at some different options and stuff. I didn't have an answer for Bubba this afternoon for that. He's in the process of trying to do that. I just did not have that much to go in there. So when we left last Tuesday and we offered these suggestions, we didn't know until really today that they're not going to, what y'all proposed is not good. So I've needed some time just to kind of go through that and kind of see what we can do. So none of it is to try to sit there and say that we're not at fault in anything. Okay, yeah, I mean, we know where the billings were going. We weren't doing it in a bad way. We were just going on the directions that we felt we were under, and to try to figure out to where it was going to be. At this point, there hasn't been one PW on the project. Our contract is 4% of the PW amount. So technically, there is no PW. What we're dealing with are PW estimates. Now, I understand, too, that the costs are there, so they're close. We haven't really known the grouping of the PWs, too. It was somewhere through the middle of the project, they were going to try to regroup some of these things, and it wasn't just recently when we first looked at the spreadsheet of where it was going to be. So could it have been everything under one PW, or 10 different PWs, or 4 or 5 of them? It tends to be somewhere in the middle of what the direction they're trying to get to. So we did look at a scaling back plan. Obviously, I kind of alluded to that a little earlier when I said that we were going to scale back just to one project manager and have him going forward. I put together a schedule of anticipated cost and effort going from December of this year all the way through the end of Ellender, what I think the end of Ellender might be. Obviously, that's dependent on FEMA and design time and stuff, but I just did some historical type numbers to get us through there with the monies that are still available in those projects. And what I put out had plenty of money in there to take it even all the way to the end of Ellender, with it was still having about $100-something left in fee on that project. So we had a plan going forward. We were just trying to figure out how to take care of the overage of the money, and we were still trying to actively work on that. That's not something we're just ignoring or whatever. It was this afternoon when I was told that the options that we presented weren't going, you know, they didn't want to go that way. So we're looking at other options, and we already started that process. I wish I had an answer for you on that right now. I just don't. I mean, I've got to check with my superiors and all that as well to go through that. So I think, I'll make sure. I think I kind of covered some of the major things. If I've confused you, I apologize. I'm happy to answer any questions on it. But that's kind of a history of kind of how it came to be where we're at right now.
Okay, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Now, excuse me if I'm wrong. I'm hearing, I ain't got nothing official, because I didn't find an official email until I got to this meeting or a little before this meeting. Now, I could be wrong. They're saying it's something about a difference of $260,000. Now,
In a ballpark, without
you know,
knowing
now
specifics.
with the projects, that's a lot of money, and then that's not a lot of money. So I guess, did we pay you all that much over? Or I understand what you're saying.
You've paid me everything
billing it.
through September, which is what that number's based off
So
of.
with that number, you got $260,000 from us early, because you were going to eventually get it, but with the billing process, you done got it already.
That's not exactly, that's not entirely accurate. We paid for what we bill for according to the projects.
Okay, so you said, so.
But to answer your question, yes, up to September, we pay. We have invoiced in for October. That hasn't been paid for, obviously, through trying to figure some of this stuff out. We have a November one in waiting. But yes, up to September, it was what it was. And it was after September's is the first time that it was mentioned to us.
So what we're saying is that, I don't know, so we're saying it's like a difference of $260,000.
Yes.
I understand what you said about the billing process. The billing process where it wasn't, y'all wasn't on the same page. And I'm sure if you get your attorney, they're gonna send us a letter saying you right and us wrong. I'm sure of that, but I'm saying when y'all went into negotiations, could you have said, okay, then let me get, you saying you still was getting with your bosses to come up with a way to get that 260 back or something?
We're trying to figure out how to be able to get FEMA to be able to get that back so you can get that reimbursed in a way. I can't do away with the bill, I guess, per se. I mean, there might be, I'm not sure. I mean, I'll look into that. But what we have been trying to come up with some options of how you can get, how you can package some of this stuff that is acceptable to GOSEP and FEMA. Because one of the big things that we're dealing with is GOSEP as well, because that's kind of the intermediary when you go through the state to have to do that. So KIP knows some of the people up in, pretty high up in GOSEP personally. KIP is a guy who has worked with fee negotiations after several different hurricanes. So some of the times when they've come in and have to do fee negotiations with different organizations that do work like we do and stuff, he's been in the middle of trying to help resolve all that. So he's a fairly learned individual on that. I'm not saying he is the pariah on it, but he's been around it quite a long time.
Okay, I guess this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm hearing. The other company didn't have that much. So I'm saying is, can your company say, look, guys, it's only $260,000, and if it's that big a deal to y'all, we'll find a way, I guess, reimburse, without GOSEP or whatever, give y'all $260, and we keep rolling. If y'all feeling, you know, the contract is worth more than $260,000. We'll give y'all the $260,000 because that's what they seem like they want. You know, we'll give y'all the $260,000, reimburse it back to y'all, everything all good.
I can only tell you this, Mr. Lagarde, is that I have asked the question. I can't make that decision.
I know what you're saying, but I'm saying that's what it seems
No,
like.
now, it was brought up this afternoon that we could work for a period of time, you know, just trying to not, without charges and stuff, to try to help balance some stuff out. That was an option that was brought to the table that has been mentioned in this meeting too. But that option wasn't discussed at all during our meeting. And it was brought up by my boss on the phone. So it wasn't me just throwing something out. It was brought up by my boss on that.
Because I saw where somewhere our attorney was saying, well, y'all will be working for free. You know, if we keep you, like, okay, they're not gonna work because we're not gonna pay them. So it's get rid of them, you know, like, they're not gonna come to work if we don't pay them, but you're gonna make way more than $260,000 on a contract, so I don't see why you wouldn't work. And if y'all could work it, I hear what y'all are saying about the double talk, sound like it was double talk. That's why I think, you know, I guess the contract should have spelled out.
I don't want to say double talk, Ms. Lagarde, because that really makes it sound kind of bad. I'm just saying,
It
it's,
sound bad on our side.
I'm just saying,
But I'm getting it sounding bad, I'm gonna be straightforward with you. How I'm getting it is sounding bad. That's why I'm asking if y'all say, okay, guys, we'll give you the 260, why y'all making a big deal? Because $260,000 is not a lot of money compared to the contract. Would you agree? It's not a lot of overall when you, if I'm going, I know as a businessman, if I'm gonna lose a contract over $260,000, I'm gonna give it to you. I understand, you know, y'all got it, I understand the process was made in the, you know, I understand what you said, how y'all, how it got, I guess, messed up, confusing. We should have been checking. They're saying y'all should have been checking. I think it got blamed to go on everybody. Because I know if we'd have sort of, I wouldn't let it got the 260,000, you know, when then one got the 6. I don't know, it shouldn't have got to that, but I'm saying y'all, I don't know, you can't speak for your company, but it just seemed to me I wouldn't lose a contract over $260,000 because it's a lot of money, but then in the ballpark of things, it's not a lot of things when we trying to renew a contract. You know what I'm saying? Y'all want to renew a contract and now this is coming up. You know, like I said, I didn't know how it got to the 260 or what happened. You know, it was like, hey, one company was 6,000, one owed 260,000, and it was like, they didn't say you did nothing wrong, but it was wanting me to think you did something wrong. And people could insinuate, look, they did, you know, it was like that. We talked to them and they don't want to pay it and this and that, so it's making me think, well, what they did wrong? I want to know if you did it wrong, you did it, or you didn't do it, or whether it was an honest mistake. I want to know what happened for my sake. I can't speak about, you know, nobody else on the board, but I want to know. And now, with this, some kind of getting an understanding of it, but then $260,000, not a large enough money to cheat someone, or I guess it was charging errors that maybe we should or get on the same page. You know what I'm saying? Communication is the key. We communicate more where it shouldn't have happened at maybe one invoice, 2 invoices, or whatever. That's why I was asking, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lagarde. Ms.
No problem.
Benoit.
Thank you. So I want to break this down in real simple terms. What I understood is that you got $260,000 paid to you already in September. Is that right? For the September invoice?
Yeah, it's kind of it's a
But you got the
accumulation of what it
September
is, yeah.
invoice, basically.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you had a 260,000 over in September. And you also have October, November in the queue to get paid more at this point. You haven't gotten paid on that.
Correct.
All right. So if we extend the contract, then you're going to be, let's say we just extend it for 30 days, just to give us more information to come up with a good decision about this. Extend it for 30 days, but then you're going to still be working and accumulating more money.
If you
right?
extend another 30 days, I won't charge you for that. That's a 30 days period. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay.
I can tell you that.
Okay, all right, because again.
I was going to offer that because if you wanted that additional time and there was a thing about where you're on contract,
additional time.
I don't know what that does for you legally. I'm just saying, on that period of time, I wouldn't charge you for that
Okay.
time at all. And I
Okay.
wouldn't go back and retroactively charge you for it either.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
So-
I think we need to get this straight before we move forward with more work going on. But if you're gonna do the work and not charge us for 30 days, I think that gives us time to get, huh? No, he has money already in the queue to get paid, he hasn't gotten paid on those. September was the last invoice that you got paid on.
Yes, ma'am. That
All
would be
right.
correct.
So I fool with contracts all the time at Nichols, and generally, we can extend a contract that has not yet expired. No problem. We can't extend a contract after it's expired. Is that correct? All right. So I don't see why we can't vote tonight to extend it 30 days. Give us some time, give them some time. You go to your boss and get more answers on how to resolve the $260,000 issue. And then we make a decision. That way, we're not forced to be making decisions about things that we can't make a decision about because we don't have enough information.
And I will be calling for substitute motions as soon as we hear from both companies.
Okay, all right.
Anything else, Mr. Morgan?
I wanted to make sure I just answered the board's questions.
Okay, any
Anything
other
I may have.
questions? Mr. Hardy?
Yeah, Debbie, I think that's a pretty good idea. I hope that what we're trying to accomplish can be accomplished in 30 days. I don't know if that can be. I mean, I don't know if any of them know, but hopefully that it can be. But we also have to think that if it's not, then we have to think of what we need to do from that point, you know.
Well, we need some answers to this dollar amount before we can make a decision to move forward.
Well, me personally, I get what you're saying. Me personally, from what's being said, it's kind of more like chemistry. I'm not a chemistry major. It's like he's saying one thing, we saying something else. The superintendent's saying that we are correct on our numbers. I think somehow, some way that the billing got crossed up somewhere. I don't know how that happened because I don't believe that these guys, I don't think anybody here believes that these guys are actually trying to rip us off with $260,000 because that's ludicrous because eventually it's going to catch up with you and then you're going to lose the whole picture. So I just think that it has to be something that maybe they did different that HGI did because HGI is not having this problem. So it has to be something they're doing different than HGI is doing because they're not having, well, they maybe have a $6,000 problem, which you're talking about 2 years, which is, what, $200 a month, $300 a month? And that's a big difference there. So I don't have a problem with it because I think they're honorable people. But I don't know if we can actually solve that in 30 days.
So you want to vote to give them a contract?
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Mr. Crowder, did you want to speak?
Oh, I'm going to get them in 30 days.
Forgot what I was going to say.
Doc, when he's, I'd like to say something. Go ahead. I'll wait till after you. But
Go ahead.
So,
He's got to remember what he wants to say.
couple additional points. The motion on the table is to renew both of them, right? That's what we read and got seconded. It was never an intention to cut anybody, never. Like, we thought we can work to the 11th hour to make this happen. That's how diligent we were, hoping that something could happen today. We're hoping. Becky, and we showed Marco, we've been involved in rearranging all of these PWs, all of these, like, in any form or fashion that would benefit the companies without penalizing us for losing or risking losing FEMA money. We can't do that. There's a big job. Let's just give you an example. Ellender and Up Little Caillou. If we were to lump those in with all the other projects, everything would be solved. But we risk not getting reimbursed for 10 years because those are so long. We can't lump those in with the other ones. That would resolve it. That's not an option. So we shuffled, looked at every opportunity I think there is to look at. We asked Marco today, you tell us what combination we need to do and we'll do it. And then we went back and forth. We looked at every combination. That's why it lasted so long. If you want to know, it was the 11th hour. So with that said, I still don't know what the resolution is. If we give them more time, Marco, maybe there can be something that we can definitively hang our hat on, that we feel confident that we're going to get what's coming to us, what's due to us,
Right.
not to benefit you all, but to benefit us.
Right.
It's not about you, it's about the school
No,
district,
it's
right?
about the school system.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes. So about our constituents, it's about our kids. We don't want to just give money freely. We want to make sure we get reimbursed properly. It's a risk if we do anything outside of contract. I'm just going to say that. There's a risk. 4% is what we agreed on, they agreed on. How we resolve that, I don't know. Will 30 days fix that? We'll have to work together. I'm not opposed to working with them. Not. I didn't hear a resolution yet. That's why I recommended what I did. If we give them more time, maybe that'll fix it. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm not opposed to working. And I think you know that. If you would have had something solid tonight, it would have been a done deal. We're good.
No, let me address that, please, Mr. Superintendent. Y'all have been excellent to work through this process. It's been a lot in the last couple of weeks to do that, but y'all have made yourselves available to do that even when we ask for meetings or what have you. You know, having some time to sit there and be able to study some things that we're studying with Kip. I mean, he's just kind of come on recently. I'd like the time to do that. And I mean, we talked this afternoon. Prior to this afternoon, I didn't really know if it was kind of a yay or nay. We left the meeting last week and I hadn't really heard anything. I texted Becky on Wednesday, hey, I really appreciate that. I did. I was very appreciative of the opportunity to get to talk. I thought the conversation was good. I hope y'all did too. I'm happy to talk any more this week about it. And she reflected back, I liked it too. I think we're okay. And that's the last I'd heard until today. So I didn't really do a whole lot. I mean, it doesn't mean that I still wasn't with Kip trying to, hey, go down some of these paths. But knowing kind of what we had, I didn't have the authority to sit in that room today to sit there and say a couple of different things. I was just trying to play with some numbers to try to see what we could do.
And I want you to know, too, Becky looked at every angle with that sliding scale possible.
I'm not surprised by that at all.
We didn't say, no, we don't want to do, like, we plugged in every number we had to that and to see if, it still didn't really help us. It still didn't fix the problem.
It doesn't fix the problem, but it lessens the problem quite a bit.
But we still have a problem. I just want you to know that. We looked at it. How long did it take? We met last week. You don't do that in 10 minutes. That's days of plugging in numbers and fixing that stuff. I just want to make that point. We were diligent in looking at every option.
And I would agree with you on that because
That's a fact.
I spent the whole week and a half before we met doing the same thing, trying to look at some options as well. So I definitely can appreciate the amount of time that Becky put into it.
I think Mr. Crowder is ready.
Sir.
So I think what we have is we've got to. It's more than just about the money. I think it's about the money. It's about potentially even job performance. Potentially whether or not we even need project managers to move on. I think those are questions, legitimate questions from each member of the board. In my opinion, I think, and then the question arises about the extra 30 days. I think the extra 30 days is not so much for the superintendent and his staff, but maybe for the board members themselves to get better and more information. I don't think, and I'm going to speak for myself only, but I think I need more information to be able to make a better informed decision, and I think that's where the majority of the board is coming from. Doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to change. It just means that I think there's more information to be had.
Greg?
I mean, I can yield to if you want me to yield. I mean, either way?
I just want to make one more point. That's it. You can go after you.
Okay then. All right. Then I would like to go in this time, and since we can go out at this all night long and stay all night. I don't think we're going to resolve anything. I think Ms. Benoit made an excellent suggestion, and I believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt when something might not be off. So at this time, I would like to make a motion that we extend HGI and Volker 30 days, and at that particular time, they come back to the board and we make a decision on what we should do.
If I may ask your indulgence, sir, could we hear from HGI first?
Well, you can, once I make when I make this motion, we still can hear from HGI.
All right.
Point of order. We keep saying 30 days. I have given her a substitute motion 60 days only because 30 days from January 5th would be February 5th, 6th. We don't meet again till the 6th. And that would give us less than 24 hours to execute it. So
I would like to amend my motion 60 days then.
March 5th.
You're,
I'm good with that.
You're offering a substitute motion that we extend the vote for 60 days.
Yes, I amend it. All right, man.
What date would that end on?
I think it said March 5th, huh?
March 5th is when we meet.
March
So,
5th?
Yeah, so if we did March 5th or March 6th, I guess.
March 5th is 60 days past January 5th?
Yeah, it would be 60 days on the 5th,
Okay.
on the 6th.
Motion till that date, because it's made from date to date. So,
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Marco has said he has authority to say there would be no charge for 30 days. I don't know that we can do 60 days. We got to look at that.
Thank you, Ms. Benoit. I'm really glad that you picked up on that semantic.
we could do the date.
It's it is Saturday, February 17th, is 60 days from today.
No, it
What
would
was
be
that?
from January.
Saturday, February 17th, 2024, is 60 days from today.
Yeah, but it would be
60
from the date of the end of the contract date.
Oh, you want it
Extending.
for- oh.
Yes.
No, from the end of the contract date.
I'll tell you that, was January 5th, I believe it is.
The motion reads from date to date, so all
Okay.
we have to do is give the new date.
I apologize.
Without saying 30 days.
So from January the 5th, which is, I believe is the date, it goes to March the 5th.
Okay. That's what,
It balances out between January and February. So it goes to
Yeah, that's
Tuesday,
good.
March the 5th, which is a Tuesday, which typically you actually have a board meeting that
so
day.
is that your substitute motion, sir, to March 5th?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Mr. Ford? Any public comment? And before we move on, we want to give a chance to HDI to speak.
Thank y'all very much.
What?
I really appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to y'all.
You had another point, sir?
And I
Want
do
to
hope
make
y'all have a
first?
Merry Christmas.
Mr. Ogeron has one point to make first.
Me?
Well, I guess, yes, I guess you will. We need to be clear, there are two issues that need to be resolved. Two issues. One is the overbilling, that's number one. Number two, the work for free. I don't know if we understand what work for free, why work for free. Here's why, because some jobs, correct me if I'm wrong, they've met the 4% already. Then they can't meet the contract. They've got to project manage jobs that they've already hit the 4%. That's what needs to be figured out in the next 60 days, how that's going to happen. I don't know if everybody understands, but am I correct in saying that?
No, you are correct in saying that. And the plan that I put together for y'all that we looked at last week, I understand the board's not privy to that. That took us from December to the end of Ellender, did not count any charges going to those jobs. It was only stuff that was Upper Locayu, Ellender. Yes, and I mentioned that. I mean, they're even on my schedule to show that they're existing projects.
That's what I need to hear.
Yeah.
Ms. Benoit?
Yeah, so it's not required to extend a contract in increments of 30 days. We could say a date, basically. You know, it could be February 10th that we extend the contract through, giving us time to meet again to discuss it before the contract ends. That's the whole point. So we don't necessarily have to do 60 days. I think the earlier we can resolve this, the better. That should be enough time. And the other thing is, Marco has some authority here to make some decisions for the company, but it sounds like there's a higher decision maker.
Always is.
Yeah. And so we don't have all of those people involved at this point, and we need that before we make the decision. So,
Ms. Benoit, not to, I got the 60 days, what you were trying to achieve to, if you do it where you have the board meeting by the beginning of February,
yeah,
that's 2 board meetings
yeah.
from now, along with the building committee, madam,
Right.
that should be plenty of
That's what
time.
I'm thinking. I'm
just
thinking in
saying.
February, we could make that decision at our board meeting.
fair
Yeah,
enough.
even if
And
we
then-
extend
I'd agree
to
with
March
that,
the
Mr.
5th, we can still
Superintendent.
have that meeting in February.
Right, and, you know, make it the 10th of February. Extend the contract to the 10th of February, and then we would make the decision before it expires.
Can I add one quick?
So should I make another substitute motion?
Mr. Ogeron has another statement.
It's nothing about that. It's
Okay.
just if you want to continue.
Okay,
that.
I'd like to then make a substitute motion that we extend the contract for both companies through February the 10th. Let's see, what does the 10th fall on?
February
Do
10th
we
is
have
a
a second
Saturday.
on that motion?
It's a Saturday?
The first Tuesday of the month is February the
That's
6th.
60. Debbie's one
But
is,
we want to do it beyond the 6th.
Yeah, the
No,
meeting is on the 6th, you
We
said?
have to,
So it'd be the
substitute
9th,
motion.
basically, it's
It's
Friday.
before his, now we have 3 in line.
but it's a substitute motion off of the main motion.
Yeah,
Okay?
She's
You
making
can't
a
have two
substitute motion to
substitute
his
motions
motion.
on one main. Right, Catherine? Okay.
Did you say February the 10th?
9th, because that's the Friday. Yeah, February
So
9th.
we voted on this one, and it passed with Mr.
No,
We didn't
haven't
vote on
voted
it.
on everything, anything yet.
Okay.
He's made a substitute motion on the,
No, not yet.
Mr. Harding has motioned a substitute motion on the original
Seconded. That's
um,
right.
recommendation. Ms. Benoit has given a substitute motion to Mr. Harding's motion.
It's two substitute motions.
So if her motion passes, then the other 2 fail.
You can't have two. I know that. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Excuse me?
Our attorney is going to tell us.
So now we have Mr. Harding's motion on the floor.
He can pull it? You can pull your motion.
All right, I'll pull a motion that's gonna go with the Benoit, so we get out.
Okay. So the substitute motion is February the 10th by Ms. Benoit.
February the 9th, which is a Friday.
February 9th. Do we have a second on that?
So moved.
By Mr.
She made the motion, so you second.
Who was that?
Mr. Harding.
Mr. Harding. All right. Going forward.
Now, you want to get the next
Yes, we need
company
to get
involved.
HGI
I
up here.
thought he had a
No,
question or a
It's
comment.
okay with you, Chairman. I just want to acknowledge Mr. Jesse. Jesse, I missed you in the introduction. We appreciate you doing this well. You're a great fellow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orgeron.
All right, HGI.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Larioni, who is the chairman and owner of Hammerman and Gaynor. I have full authority for him. I'm his chief administrative officer. This is the first time you've seen me, but I came for this event. We've been looking at it in great detail. I'd like to just bring up some numbers to the point. Any potential overpayment on the 4% on any particular PW, the only issue is $6,600 max. And there was certainly no intent to overbill or otherwise. From our appreciation, it's more of an allocation because we're working every day and trying to make sure that we're billing according to the right facility. Just to put that perspective, however, the total amount that we've billed is $643,000. $6,000 is how much we're saying that we were overpaid. Actually, we've only been paid $479,000 in total. And this is on a contract for $2.9 million of what we had. So just as a matter of perspective, we're talking about 0.9% of something we may have been overpaid for. Our goal, of course, is to serve everyone in Terrebonne Parish, to serve y'all, to serve the citizens, to serve the parents and the students here, as well as all the taxpayers in the United States. What we discussed at length with the superintendent and also with Ms. Bro is we're going to do whatever needs to be done so that y'all get paid everything you're supposed to the right way. If that means continuing working on some projects where we've hit the 4% mark and we need to continue to do project management, of course we're going to. Absolutely. And whatever needs to be done accounting-wise to make sure that happens, yes. As to the $6,600, absolutely, credit. If you want us to write you a check back, fine. If you want to just apply it to the next invoices, that's fine. Absolute credit. There was no intent whatsoever to have gotten more than we're due, and certainly more than the law allows. And that's the most important thing. And y'all are fantastic stewards of this very important process in the United States, this FEMA process, this rebuilding of schools of all things, right? And y'all have a very, very, very difficult job. The staff here has a very difficult job. We keep talking about what the numbers are, and they are estimates, right? And so you're talking about a percentage of an estimate, and we don't know the final yet. Some of the jobs are done, and it all comes down to what FEMA approves. But as to the 6,000 potential, or the 6,000 that's the position that we were overpaid, absolute credit. And so I just wanted to give some perspectives on the numbers. We appreciate the opportunity to serve. We hope we continue to do so, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone has questions for HGI? Oh, you're getting off easy.
Thank you. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you, sir. Any further public comment? Ms. Benoit, any
Yes.
additional comment?
No, thank you.
Mr. Horton?
Yeah, I would like to, on a good note, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's, okay?
We have
That's
to
all.
vote first before you.
Well, but I wanted to make sure I wish everybody a Happy New Year. And Clyde, I wanted to let you know, you're getting rid of one Harding, and you're going to find another one. Okay.
Any other board members? Any objections to the substitute motion?
I object.
And so do I. Any other further objections? So that we have we're 8 members, so we have 2 objections and 6 yeas. The substitute motion passes. We're not going to need that because we don't have any more business on our agenda tonight. And there's no more business to come before the board on the special school board meeting. The meeting is adjourned. Merry Christmas.